Hello, this is Seth with SethPerler.com, and I am here to talk to you a little bit today about backwards planning. So right now it's December 2014, and I have a lot of students who are getting ready for finals this week. We're going to be having winter break coming up soon, and as you well know, with middle school, high school, and college, this is the time to prep for your final exams for the semester. And the students that I work with, one of the things that's common between all the students that I work with is that they have trouble planning. And this is an executive function issue. You can look at some of my other videos to learn more about executive function. But basically, the brain's ability to figure out what steps are required in order to realistically plan and realistically manage time is very challenging. So one of the things that I do with a lot of these students when it comes time for big projects or when it comes time for exams is to do what's called backwards planning. So here's a calendar that we're about done with. So I am going to kind of show you on this calendar how we might go about doing some backwards planning. So this is something that you can apply today. It does take a few minutes. If you are a student watching this, you're not going to want to do it because it takes extra time up front. But you probably also know that it will save you time, energy, effort, and everything in the end. So if you can motivate yourself to do this, this will really save you time and energy. But the problem is that you have to put upfront effort. I call it front loading. You're going to have to put upfront effort into it in order to make it happen. So anyhow, let me go ahead and tell you how it works. Basically, you want to first start out with what all of your exams are. So let's say that on Friday you have a science exam, and let's say you have a math exam. Now, whether you're using a planner on your wall or whether you're using Google Calendar or iCal or something like that, or whether you're using an actual paper planner, you want to start off with getting the exams written in right away. So let's say this one's at 2 p.m., this one's at 3 p.m., whatever it is, get those marked in your planner. Now you want to get your other exams for the week listed. Let's say on the 18th you have an LA exam, and let's say that on the 17th you have a social studies exam. So you get all your exams written out. Now we're going to look at how to actually study. What you want to do is you want to get stuff into long-term memory, not short-term memory. And anytime you cram, you're just getting stuff into short-term memory. Believe it or not, you can study less total time if you break it up into small segments and get more out of it with long-term memory than you would if you just crammed the night before. So let's say that you crammed for 2 hours the night before. Then that's 2 hours worth of studying. But let's say that you broke that up into 3 30-minute segments, a half hour, half hour, half hour for 3 days. You'll actually get more out of something like that because you're going to be able to build it into long-term memory better. So what we want to do is, let's say that today's the 11th, for example. It's Thursday night. You're probably not going to want to do much studying, but this is where we are today. I'm going to start here and I'm going to go backwards. So now for the math and science exam, clearly on Thursday night before the exam, I need to study. So study math, 60 minutes, study science, 60 minutes. Now, the more specific you can be, if you can actually say, study math, for example, in your electronic calendars, this is really easy to do, from 4 to 5 p.m., and study science from 7 to 8 p.m. And of course, you can study more. You can study 2 hours the night before, 3 hours the night before, whatever you need, but you're going to start making a plan. Whether or not you hold to the plan exactly, you're going to start making the plan. Obviously, the night before, those are the only 2 we have to study for because those are the only 2 we have the next day. Now, the LA exam, the night before, obviously you're going to study for LA. Let's say we're doing 60 minutes. And let's say that you want to refresh your science and math. So then you'd write study math let's say that's a 20-minute, and study science 20 minutes. So total study time, 1 hour and 40 minutes. You still have time to eat, work out, do whatever you do after school, but you're giving a little bit to the 2 that are coming up on Friday, and you're giving a lot to the one that's coming up the following day. Now, we have social studies exam on the 17th. Definitely that's where our focus is going to be on the 16th. So study social studies for 60 minutes. Perhaps we study LA for 30 minutes, and then perhaps we study math and science for just 15 minutes each. That's a total study time of 2 hours, okay, for all of your studying. But your primary studying is going to be your 60 minutes of social studies, because that's what you have the next day. Then you want to look at the day before. Let's say that your hardest exam is going to be science. Perhaps on this day before, on this Monday night, perhaps you're going to study 60 minutes for science. Perhaps you're going to study 30 minutes for math. Perhaps you're not going to study for LA at all that day because you're going to do a lot on Sunday or something. And let's say that you're going to study 30 minutes for social studies. Now on your Sunday, that's a big day. So that's a day when you should probably hit on all of them. So let's say that you do 45 each. So here's a total of 2 hours of study. Here's a total of 2 hours of study. Here's a total of 1 hour and 40 minutes of study. Here's a total of 2 hours of study. On this day, you're going to have about 3 hours of study total. Now, you could obviously make it 4 or 5. I don't know what your situation is. Be realistic about it, as realistic as you can be. And again, I'm going to say this over and over and over. If you watch my videos, if you read my blog, you'll know that it doesn't matter if you follow the plan exactly. It matters that you make the plan. Okay? It's about intention. When you are intentional, when you are conscious, when you have an awareness, when you're trying to plan out what you're going to do, that really empowers you a lot. So let's say you've planned out your Saturday to do 45 minutes, your Sunday for 45 minutes each. Let's say you did your Saturday for 45 each also. Again, let's say that the math is the scariest one for you. Maybe on this Friday night. Actually, you know what? On the Friday night after the week before exams, I'd probably say don't even think about school. You just finished your week. You're done. You're open. You're free. Have a good night. Relax. Do something good for yourself on that Friday night. Don't even think about it. And maybe on this day, on the 11th, maybe you work on study guides. And maybe you spend 15 to 30 minutes per class. Again, for a maximum of about 2 hours of studying. Now, let's look at how this is going to pan out in the long term when we add up how much studying you've done for any particular class. Let's just take math, for example. Math, we have 60 minutes here, 20 minutes here. That makes 1 hour and 20 minutes. 15 minutes here. That makes about 1 hour and 35 minutes. Half hour here. That makes about 2 hours. 45 minutes each. That makes about 3 hours of math. 45 minutes. That makes 3.5 to 4 hours of math. And then the study guides, maybe you've done a total of 4 to 5 hours of math. So rather than cram and study for math the night before for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, over the course of all these days, you've collectively spent about 4 hours on math. Now that 4 hours is going to get you into longer term memory, into real learning rather than memorization the night before. And here's how this looks. Let's say that you have something that you want to remember. And this is short-term memory, and then I know this is a mess. Long-term memory, enjoy the mess. This is a beautiful thing. If you want to get something from short-term to long-term memory, cramming imagines that you could just spend a huge amount of time. So this method is more where you're doing a little bit, and it's almost like leapfrogging your memory. You're building, building, building. It's much more effective. So, just wanted to go over that again. Again, this is called backwards planning. And again, this is generally for middle school, high school, and college students. And it can be for elementary students, particularly if you're doing it for projects. So backwards planning is generally intended for anything long-term, whether it's studying for an exam or doing long-term projects, whether they be in writing or any other class. So I think that's about all I got for you. I hope you're doing awesome, and I will see you soon. Take care.